You're listening to 69.9 WTFF The Bear. Ready for some facts? Good, because coming up next is Parsing the Truth with Hat.
Welcome to Parsing the Truth, the only show that strips away all the lies, leaving you with nothing but the bare, naked facts. I'm your host, Hat, and today's claim to verify is that the Scourge is making a comeback after so many years in the shadows. After previous Lich King Bolvar Fordragon abdicated the throne, the Scourge has installed a new democratic political structure and has begun rebuilding the undead horde. Joining me today is Deathbringer Wilson. He's the appointed press secretary under the newly elected Lich president, Zoc Bonecrusher. Deathbringer Wilson, thanks for coming on.
Please, call me Steve.
All right, Steve, let's talk about President Bonecrusher. I've never heard of him before. How did he pull through in this election?
Well, Hat, it's not surprising that you've never heard of him. He was a grassroots blue-collar worker in the Borean tundra for years, before he was personally risen from death by the previous Lich King Arthas Menethil.
So he's just like us, and he's got the credibility of former Lich King Arthas behind him as well?
Yes. Many members of both Scourge parties were avid supporters of King Arthas before he stepped down. When Bonecrusher ran on his platform, Make the Scourge Great Again, he won in a landslide, and he's currently sitting on an approval rating of 78%.
Interesting. Let's talk about his platform for a bit. You say he wants to make the Scourge great again. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, after King Fordragon took up the throne, things kind of went downhill fast. The living citizens of Azeroth stopped seeing us as a real threat. We kind of became the laughingstock of world terrors, and we've been struggling to get our image back ever since.
I see.
Then, when Sylvanas came and convinced the king to step down, everyone got excited, thinking this was our big comeback. But unfortunately, that was just to get people to come to her new amusement park in the Shadowlands, which, from what I hear, was an unsuccessful venture.
So how is the president going to accomplish this goal?
Well, through good old-fashioned hard work. We've been making our way across the land, killing and raising everything we can. We've had to start small, but as of last week, I can officially say we've reclaimed Naxxramas.
Really? Naxxramas? That must have been some feat.
Well, actually, the place was kind of abandoned. Ever since Kel'Thuzad left, everyone just kind of forgot about it and moved on to other things. So it's just been sitting there, floating in Dragonblight, unoccupied for years. Honestly, the hardest part was cleaning up all the dust.
Well, still, Naxxramas is a name everyone knows. So what comes next?
So the plan is to retake Northrend at this point. Tourism has been down recently, and it took an especially big hit ever since Alexstrasza and the other dragons left for the Dragon Isles. But we believe we can bring people back if we can establish a truly terrifying image and back it up with absolutely horrific acts.
All right then, let's take some questions from some callers. Dance Cat, you're on the air.
Hey Hat, hey Steve. So Arthas had that really cool, iconic sword. What I want to know is, does this new president have anything like that?
Excellent question. Unfortunately, not yet. But we are working on it. We have some really amazing designs to pick from. Currently, we're leaning towards a halberd, but we still need to source some materials before we can begin crafting it.
A halberd? I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like this weapon's gotta be really iconic for me to bother coming back to Northrend.
Oh, it will be. Like I said, we're still finalizing the design, and we're planning on making it out of some of Yogg-Saron's teeth. Getting his teeth has been difficult, though, as we're still in negotiations with the Titan Watchers in Ulduar.
Do you guys at least have a name for the weapon yet?
Not yet. We're planning on having a poll to decide the name, to make the lower ranks feel involved.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm finding it kinda hard to get hyped up about this.
Well, you have to remember, we're still in the early stages. The Scourge has had some rough years, and there's still a lot of work to be done.
I guess I'll check it out later if you guys do something epic.
All right, Dance Cat, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Something I want everyone to consider is that for years we were just sitting there, wasting away under King Fordragon. The overall reputation and morale of the Scourge took a massive hit. So we've basically got to build our way back up from square one. But we're determined. We are going to work hard every day to make sure that every living citizen of Azeroth has trouble sleeping out of the fear that a massive swarm of the undead could show up at any time and start causing trouble.
That's a good point. I mean, you gotta remember, even the Burning Legion wasn't built in a day.
Exactly. We just need a little bit of time to get ourselves organized and rolling, and before you know it, we'll be the #1 threat to the world again.
Let's take another caller. Lots o' dots. You're on Parsing the Truth.
Hey guys, I called because I want to know more about this new Democratic Scourge. Fantastic. What would you like to know? I want to know about voter rights and equality. You say that you're a democracy, but how do I know that everyone is treated equally? Another excellent question, and I can say with absolute confidence that everyone from ghouls to liches have the same voting rights. Everyone gets one vote. What about the horrifying flesh constructs made up of multiple corpses? Do they not get a vote for every soul fused into their existence of suffering? Well, that's a bit complicated. What's complicated about it? Do they only get one vote or not? Well, currently it's only one, but it's a subject we're willing to discuss with the public, and if the voters want it, it can be altered to allow for them to get more votes. Really? Currently abominations make up less than 10% of the undead population per body, but their souls account for more than 40%. So you're telling me that they're only going to get one vote per construct in an election to determine if they can get better representation? Like I said, it's complicated. We don't want anyone to feel like they're not represented. And if we were just to give abominations more voting power, it might make the other members of the Scourge feel belittled. Belittled? You mean like if you were stitched together with 30 other people, but you were only allowed one vote amongst the group? I mean, look, I'll bring it up at the next cabinet meeting, but I'm not the one with the power to change policies. I guess I'll just have to wait and see if this new Scourge is worth having night terrors over, or if they're just going to get cancelled. Ooh, your viewers sure don't pull their punches, Hat.
Well, you know what they say. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the Soul Forge.
Very true.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back with Deathbringer Wilson, answering your questions here on Parsing the Truth.
You're listening to 69.9 WTFF The Bear, the #1 station for intelligent talk shows and absolute bangers.
Have you found yourself feeling sluggish lately? Does your standard rotation feel a little overwhelming? Are patches of fire taking longer than ever to run out of? Then you might be suffering from the early stages of boomer syndrome. BS affects 1 out of every 3 raiders over the age of 25, and it can lead to depression, anxiety, and humiliation. But now there's hope. Ask your doctor about Get Good. GG is the thrice daily suppository treatment for moderate to severe BS. Patients taking GG have seen up to a 20% increase in reaction time and a 38% increase in attentiveness after just the first month. GG should not be taken if you are lazy, tired, or may become tired. Side effects may include coughing, skin irritations, constipation, loss of appetite, uneven tire wear, spontaneous yodeling, flammable urine, blindness, dehydration, or instant death. If you begin experiencing any of these side effects, stop taking Get Good immediately and seek medical attention. Don't be the person who drags the whole raid down, and find out if Get Good is the solution for you today.
Welcome back to Parsing the Truth. Today we're interviewing Deathbringer Steve Wilson about the newly reformed Democratic Scourge. Let's take another caller. Chadzilla, you're on the air.
Hey, Hat. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I just want to say, this whole situation is just a ploy by the Shadow Cabal.
Listen, we're the Shadow Cabinet, not the Shadow Cabal. Totally different organizations. And there's no ploy here. We're telling you exactly what we're doing.
Sure. And I'm just supposed to believe that you're not trying to distract me from the fact that all the birds in Ashenvale have been replaced by gnomish spy drones.
What? Spy drones? I have no idea what you're talking about. Listen, we're 100% focused on ravaging the land until only death
No,
remains.
you listen. I know how you politician types work. You never just do what you say you're going to do. It's all subterfuge to cover up the real plan. You want to replace all the organic birds with spy drones so you can keep us all under surveillance and sell our data to the big corporations.
Chad, I promise, we're not trying to spy on you. We simply want to end your life and raise you into an undead citizen of the Scourge.
Yeah, whatever. Just know that I've got my eye on you.
Okay, then. We have time for one more caller. Dagger Boy, you're on Parsing the Truth. Do you have any questions for Deathbringer Wilson?
Yeah, I want to know about this Bone Crusher guy. How am I supposed to be terrified of him when I know nothing about him?
Very good point. I can assure you that President Bone Crusher is the total package. He is menacingly tall, and his voice could drop an entire orchestra by 3 octaves.
Sure, he's got the looks and voice. But what has he done?
He has been an absolute menace. The first thing he did after taking office is that he burned down the remains of Vordrasil, making hundreds of furbolgs homeless.
Didn't Vordrasil fall over years ago?
Well, yeah, but there was still a bunch of furbolgs living in it, so he reduced it to ash and forcibly displaced all of them.
I mean, that's cool and all, but I was kind of hoping for something a bit more dramatic.
Oh, he's done all sorts of terrible things. Just last week, he busted into an old man's home and delivered his signature catchphrase, "I'm gonna crush your bones."
I'm gonna crush your bones? Really?
I'm not doing it justice, really. When he says it, ooh, shivers run down my spine.
So he killed an old man.
Well, no. I guess the man had passed away in his sleep the night before, but trust me, President Bone Crusher was on point that day. I mean, he was absolutely terrifying.
Uh-huh. I'm not gonna lie. This is pretty disappointing. I guess I was hoping for something with a bit more pizzazz. Maybe I should have tempered my expectations. I mean, how can I expect anyone to compare to Arthas?
Oh, we'll get there, don't worry. We're still in the early stages, and every day is just another step towards the apocalypse.
Sure, whatever. Maybe I'll check back in a couple years.
Sounds like you're off to a bit of a rough start today, Steve. Any closing comments you want to leave the viewers with?
Yeah, I know that we may not seem like much today, but remember, all big things start off small, and we have a dedicated team that will stop at nothing to bring this world to its knees. It may not happen today, or tomorrow, or even this year, but just you wait. The Scourge will be the talk of Azeroth again, and all those doubters will feel like absolute fools when that day comes.
All right, Steve. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Hat.
So the claim was, the Scourge is making a comeback after so many years in the shadows. Plugging this into the truth parser, we're landing in the 51st percentile. The talk and promises sounded good, but it's a bit early to say. We're just going to have to be patient to see if this new Scourge has the actions to back it up and become the absolute menace to society that it once was. Anyways, that's our show. I've been your host, Hat, and I'll see you next time here on Parsing the Truth.
You're listening to 69.9 WTFF The Bear. Be sure to take the long way to work today, because coming up next is 4 hours of non-stop Outlands rock.